Today I'm going to talk to you about saying no, which is something I myself find quite hard to do. So I'm in the boat with you here. In neuroscience, there's a phenomenon known as the negativity bias, first described by psychologist Roy Baumeister, and essentially explains that the primitive part of the brain, the old ancient part, responds more fiercely when we encounter negative stimuli than when we encounter positive stuff. And it does this to keep us safe. From a survival standpoint, it's more important that we feel and remember painful or frightening encounters so that we will identify and avoid them in the future. But as with so many instances of ancient brain versus modern living, the brain actually makes things more difficult for us here. It's hardwired to respond both faster and more powerfully to a no than a yes, and by creating this disproportionate emotional reaction, it stops us from saying no regularly in our own lives because we know it's going to hurt, so we don't do it. But this approach isn't harmless, as when we don't say no to others, we say no to our own priorities. We say no to what's important to us. An outward yes is often an inward no, so we end up hurting ourselves. And from this perspective, saying no is a matter of acknowledging personal responsibility. It says, my needs take priority here. It doesn't say my needs take priority at all times, but right now in this moment, my needs take priority. And it's really understanding that we can't have everything in life, no matter how much we try, and we do try, don't we? It's a moment of clear choice. By saying no, you're affirming that you're choosing you. So if you are a chronic people pleaser like me, then I've come up with a little list of steps to saying no, tips for saying no, and how to not feel bad about it. Number 1, get really clear on your why. When you know why you're saying no to something, it makes it a lot easier to say it and stick to it. It'll help you respect your own decision, even if someone else may not. So for example, if I'm saying no to evening plans because I need to rest more, my rest is the priority. If I keep reminding myself of that why, it becomes a lot easier to say no and turn things down. Number 2, replace your automatic yes with an I'll think about it. So this approach obviously gives you some time to evaluate the impact of saying yes versus no on your own life. And you can then make a decision based on this rather than on anyone else's preferences, needs and wants. And it's something that I talk about a lot in coaching, where instead of reacting to someone else's demands or suggestions, we're acting on what's important to us. So this is a really good example of acting instead of reacting. Number 3, practice the conversation. So those of you who work with me or listen to this a lot, you'll know that I'm big into running through things in your head before something happens. So whether you've got a stressful situation or in this instance, a conversation that you need to have, it's really worthwhile practicing it first. If you need to say no to someone and you're feeling nervous about it, then just run through the conversation in your head. Get clear on your why, obviously, number 1, and identify the conflict points that may arise, but don't go down a complete rabbit hole of assuming that the other person is going to respond in a really negative way, because often when we set clear boundaries, people respect them. Number 4, focus first on the energy draining opportunities, people, activities, and demands that don't feel either important or appealing. So, of course, there are some things that we're going to have to say no to that we really wish we could say yes to. And I suggest going first to the stuff that, you can take or leave it, or you don't want to say no for other people's reasons rather than your own. So the stuff that you're not that into or will drain you. And what's really crucial here is being okay with people thinking you're selfish or rude. As we all know, we can't control what other people are going to think of us. We can only control what we think of ourselves. In saying no, you're going to have to accept that sometimes you're going to disappoint people and let them down, and that's just part of life. Number 5, say no with kindness and compassion. So make it clear, set boundaries, but make it clear that it isn't a reflection of their own worth, but rather about you protecting your own resources. Call on that cheesiest of all breakup lines. It's not you, it's me. So there you go. I've written a bit more at length on this subject in my newsletter, Prioritise This, which you can find on Substack or via my website, Instagram. It's free at the moment. So if you'd like to read a little bit more, have a look there. Final question to leave you with. What can you say no to today to make your life better tomorrow? Thanks for listening. Take care.